Should you grow your Airbnb business? But if you do, will you still be able to handle it all? And more importantly, how should you go about doing it? Co-hosting, arbitrage, purchasing another property? Well, we all know there's tons of money and location freedom that comes from being an Airbnb host. So let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of Airbnb Uncovered. I'm Matt, the creator of Airbnb Uncovered and an Airbnb trainer and coach. On this channel, I uncover all of the insider host strategies so that you can earn more, have a fully booked calendar, and grow your business to mind-blowing levels. There's no fluff on my channel, just real advice that actually works from me, a 48-time superhost who's hosted over 3,500 guests and earned millions on Airbnb. I've coached and trained over 600 hosts to earn more from their Airbnb business, so be sure to hit the subscribe button so that you can become one too. Also, join the conversation over on my Facebook group by heading over to facebook.com/groups/Airbnb Uncovered. Growth. I know it can be a scary proposition at first, and I got you. I was there too. I was a new host. I was looking at my Airbnb payouts, doing the math to see how much more relatively easy money I could be making if I added another listing. But back then, there were so many unknowns. Could I handle it all? Where would I get the money to start another one? And who would do all the cleanings and the check-ins? Because back then, that used to be me. So let's dive into what you need to consider before you expand your Airbnb business so that you don't make any of the costly mistakes that many hosts make when they start to expand. The first thing to consider is location. Sometimes as hosts, we're so eager to expand that we choose the first place that pops up. Or in other situations, we've maybe been looking and looking for the perfect place and it just doesn't seem to show. And then we just pick the next one that does pop up because we're just so frustrated. But please heed this advice. Not any location will make a viable Airbnb, no matter how great of a host you are. And I've seen it time and time again with my students, and no matter how hard we work to improve the listing, it just doesn't happen. So you're going to want to pick a location that has some kind of a draw to it, preferably a year-round draw, and one that will be unique in the marketplace. Your capacity is another big thing to consider. At the end of the day, we are providing a key component of people's vacation plans. It's their accommodation. And your guests could have been potentially planning that vacation that they have been looking at and saving for years. And you can't take that lightly. I mean, if you do, your ratings will suffer and your listing will become a dud anyway. But honestly, we don't want to be ruining people's trips with subpar service. So please take a hard look at how much time you have to devote to your Airbnb business. I mean, adding a second property doesn't exactly double your total workload. And in fact, if you have the right systems running, then you can easily get your management time down to just a couple hours a week, or maybe even less. But to do that, you need help. Help in the form of cleaners and help in the form of systems and automations to make sure that things can run easily and perfectly without you. Let me dig a little deeper on the system stuff. When I say systems, I don't just mean software. Although, don't get me wrong, software is an important part of running a multi-listing Airbnb business. But you also have to physically set up your listings so that they can run without you, to anticipate guest needs, including the ones they don't even realize they have, and to be prepared for the unexpected, because the last thing you want is to be dropping everything to deal with a guest problem, especially in the middle of a workday or a family event. Having the proper physical setup is a key component of having an Airbnb business that takes very little of your time and that is wildly popular with your guests. Another big part of the system you'll need is a housekeeper who you can rely on to show up and do a great job. And this is no easy feat. I've been through probably a dozen or more cleaners over the past 8 years. That experience has led me to identifying some key traits that amazing cleaners have. But it's also taught me how to train these cleaners. See, cleaning is not just something that you can hire out and be done with it. It is an ongoing process. And yes, when you put in the work up front of properly training your cleaner, you can reap the rewards later on down the road by devoting less and less time to managing them. And I actually did a video on hiring cleaners, and you can watch that video by clicking on the little I in the upper right-hand corner of this video right now. All right, money. And this is where many of you get super stuck. It's often said that you can't make money without money. And while this is partially true as an Airbnb host, it's not fully true. My students and I work through this problem all the time. See, you have a few options to grow your Airbnb business, and that doesn't always include buying property. In fact, many of my students have seen great success without purchasing. They grow their portfolios with co-hosted listings and rental arbitrage. Let me explain a bit about both for you. So co-hosting is simply taking over the operations of an existing host listing. You will run their business in exchange for a fee, and in turn, all they have to do is collect the money and provide you with a bit of guidance on some big decisions. I mean, after all, it is their property, so they'll want a little bit of control. Although finding co-hosts and getting them to say yes is a completely different story. But if you're a solid host, this gets much easier. Now, rental arbitrage. Rental arbitrage is when you rent out a place as a normal tenant would, but instead of living there yourself, you put the place up on Airbnb. This is often touted as a way to get into the Airbnb business with no money at all. But look, I'm afraid this isn't true. You will need some initial money to get started. You'll need to pay your first month's rent and maybe the last month's rent too, and or a damage deposit. You could also have to furnish this place if it comes unfurnished. And probably regardless, you're going to need linens, towels, kitchen stuff, cleaning supplies, and things like that. But for sure, this is a much lower cost way to grow your Airbnb business than it is to purchase. And to be honest, to get into arbitrage, it's not a crazy big investment. Ideally, you can use some of the profits from your existing business to fund this one, or given that you know how much money you can make on Airbnb, you might be willing to take on some debt for a quick payoff. I typically see a return on investment from arbitrage that is about 2 to 3 months, depending on the investment level and the market that you're operating in. I'd love to know. Are you thinking of expanding your Airbnb business? Tell me about it in the comments below. What locations are you thinking of expanding in? What's holding you back from pulling the trigger and growing your business? And how far along are you into the process? Leave a comment below and I'll be sure to get back to you. Look, taking a plunge and adding to your Airbnb business can bring up all the feels. You can be excited, you can be eager, and you can be daydreaming about what could be. But you also might be nervous and cautious and trepidatious. And I get that. I was there too. To be honest, it took a swift kick in the ass to get me to grow. And now looking back on it, it was honestly the best decision that I ever made. It allowed me to become my own boss, have complete control over my life, my time, and my finances. It's been such a liberating journey, and one that I hope you'll embark on very soon. Can I ask a favor? Can you please leave me some feedback? Let me know if I'm making videos about things that you're interested in. Do that by giving my video a thumbs up if you learned something and found it useful. And if you liked this video and you want more of them, then please subscribe to my channel, click on the notification bell so that you'll be alerted when I post a new video, or binge the rest of my videos. I've got about 50 others on my channel. So until next time, happy hosting and bye for now.